I'm good. You should
All right.
see yourself up here.
Okay, there we are. Thank you. This is the July meeting for the Parks and Rec Commission. I think so. From now on, I just want to mention the fact that Alicia and I spoke with the town and LCTV, and we've determined that the best thing for us to do going forward is to record all our meetings, so we can have, the communication will be just opened up that much more for the town. If there's ever any questions about decisions we've made, conversations we've had, it'll be easy now to go back and look and listen to the full depth of the conversations that we have. And so you don't have to rely on your neighbors or Facebook to understand why we made decisions and, how we came to the conclusions and the decisions that we do. So going forward, that's going to be the case. I'm not going to mention every single time that we are on TV being recorded. Just be aware going forward that will be the case. So first up on our agenda, well, let me read the agenda just so everyone knows. So we have meeting minutes to accept. Item number 2 is the First Church Unitarian is asking permission to use Fay Park for the community fair. After that, we have the Littleton Track and Road Race Association asking for permission to use Fay Park as well. Both are looking to have the fee waived. And then from that point, we'll go into a little special town meeting recap. We have a spot for public input. And then we are being asked to vote to move some money around to cover some salaries. That'll be explained a little bit later. After that, we have 1-day liquor license approval for a few different things, and that followed by discussion on future dates for the Park and Rec Commission. Then we have the director's report. We have some upcoming events to discuss and any new business, and then we will adjourn. So with that being said, let's take a look at the meeting minutes for June 17th.
Would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure, we can do that. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thanks,
this
sir.
way. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Give me an awkward spot.
Yeah, I thought you were
You
taking
okay?
it down.
Now, if it had been me, Mike, it'd be on the ground now in 50 pieces.
All right, so meeting minutes from June 17th.
All right, I'll move to accept the minutes from the June 17th meeting.
Second.
All right, all those in favor of accepting the June 17th meeting minutes, say aye. Aye. All right. So that's done. So next up is the First Church Unitarian, asking for permission to use Fay Park for the community fair, September 7th, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and they're looking to have the fee waived. Is Susan? Susan. Hi.
Hi, how are you doing, Mike?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. So it's like we've had,
Sorry, if you don't mind, would you come up to the center mic just so we can hear you?
so we're on TV?
You are. Hi.
So myself and Lynn Seen are members of First Church Unitarian, and we've come before you to ask for permission. Well, we've already been granted permission, but to have the fee waived because we are a nonprofit organization. And out of the take from the fair, we do give 10% back to the town. In fact, this year, we gave some money for camper ships.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we gave some money to help the seniors reduce their tax burden. I forget what that program is called. In past years, we've also given our 10% to the library and also to seniors. So we are a nonprofit, and we ask that the fee be waived. I also wanted to talk to you about how many outhouses we need. It always gets down to that.
Yeah, that's something we usually talk about.
I know. Well, you got to have sewage.
Yep.
Yeah.
So do you know how many you've rented in years past?
Well, we've been told to rent 2. We do have at least 3 restrooms in the church, but I talked to the outhouse people, RADA.
Yep.
They said, I guess they can tell by what they clean out. I want to be delicate. We're
Yeah.
on TV, right? They say it's never full. I mean, people avoid outhouses. Those outhouses are really clean,
Yeah.
and they don't smell that much. But he doesn't think we need 2. He thinks we could get by with 1. However, we'll go with your decision. It's your park. But like I say, there's usually access to the outhouse. It would be a handicap outhouse. But you also have an outhouse.
We already
there.
have a handicap exit. We
Yeah.
use that for Third Thursday and stuff, as it seems to be sufficient. It's about the same user load as what we see at Third Thursday, so
And if we had, so we get by with 1.
we do.
We do. And RADA is really good at calculating
Yeah.
the waste per person ratio,
And I think before we get there, they clean it out.
user load.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Is that what's called user load? They clean it out before we get there.
Right.
Yeah, so in that case, generally what we do in the past is we've just asked for that group to pay for the next pumping of the one, which is $88.
How
So the
much
one-
is it?
So the one we have,
$85, sorry.
yeah.
$85.
okay, so we would ask them to rent another one for the day?
No.
No, we have one there
Yeah,
currently.
we already, I have
Okay.
one there through the end of the summer, so if they were gonna continue to
Gotcha.
keep that there, we would ask that they pay for the final pumping.
Okay. Does that sound,
That'd be
Manager?
great.
okay, so let's do that. So, I guess we can, I'll entertain a motion to waive the fee for the First Church Unitarian for the community fair, and just ask them to pay for the next pumping of our porta potty that we already have.
Agreed, totally, 100%.
I'd like to move to motion that we give permission to the First Church Unitarian to use Fake Park for the community fair on September 7th, 2019, and to have the fee waived.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor of Mike's motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Suspense.
I have one other question, and
Yeah.
that is, if it's going to be a day of pouring rain, I believe in the past we've encountered this, and the fair will not be able to be held in the park. We would probably move it to our church grounds and only have probably half of the activities, because I believe that happened a couple of years ago. I do remember spending a whole day in the rain, and I think it was too hard on the grass.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how will we make that decision, when and where? And should I talk to you on Friday, Alicia, about that?
So
The
I am actually
forecast?
going to go out on medical leave on Thursday, and I will be out
Of that,
till-
of that month?
I know.
on the 6th?
Yeah. So
So
you
Tim?
can talk to Tim
Okay.
and work things out.
I'll put that
but-
on my to-do list.
Yeah,
Yep.
just send me an email and then,
I'll probably call. If the weather does not look good, I'll probably call.
Okay.
if you wanna send me an email just to, hey, we wanna talk on this Friday, I'll put it on my calendar. That way,
Oh, all right.
we can set some time just aside and we'll just talk.
Lynn, would you
by
do that now,
lunchtime.
please? She-
Perfect.
She does.
Yeah.
I'm teasing her.
Yeah,
So,
we'll-
oh, go ahead. No.
We'll also just make sure, I'll put in there to remind Highway to mow the grass the Friday before, if we still need to do that. That way the park is ready for everything.
And I believe they give us trash cans.
We
So
did.
I-
We provided yeah.
And I believe they agreed to that when I got the permit signed. So that's 3 things. Lynn, could you just jot down the 3 things? 3 things are rain, trash.
pressure, Lynn.
What was the third one?
Rain, trash, and mow.
And mow.
Porta potty.
Well, it's porta potty, but we got that. Rain, trash, mow, porta. Lynn, I'm gonna need you. That's good. 2 heads are better than 1.
If I may ask, are you guys putting up a tent again?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So just the same thing. I know we had that one year where the tent got left up for a little bit of time. Just that
We'll
it's down
probably
within the
take
24
it down
hours.
Saturday, that's my goal.
Perfect. Yep.
But Sunday morning, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Just 24 hours. That's the general
Okay.
the ask. Thank you.
okay, I think maybe we were waiting for McKay to come back, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna make him, it's hard to make people do things, but I'll do my best, yeah, okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you to you and your church for all that you do for, the donations you've given us over the last years, and,
Yeah.
it's great community event, so thank you for putting it on.
I hope to see you there.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool, thank you.
All right, thanks. Littleton Track Road Race Association, also asking permission to use Fay Park for a Littleton Road Race on September 22nd from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and also have their fee waived. You are not Mark Saucier.
I'm not Mark Saucier.
That's who's on my agenda.
So I'm Donna Goodwill, and I'm the president of the Littleton Track and Road Race Organization,
Okay.
which is the same thing that you just named. So yes, we are planning to have our annual road race on September 22nd, Sunday, and are looking to have to use the park and have the fee waived. We're also a nonprofit organization. All of the proceeds of this race will go to ongoing maintenance of the track and also for money put toward the ongoing process of developing the
Pole vault.
pole vault. Yes, I was going to say the pit, the purchasing of the mats, and finally establishing a pole vault sort of program for the high school as well as, well, really for the high school for now, but hopefully eventually for sort of all of the town. So,
Excellent. Okay.
I'd like to.
So I think, well, hold on, let's discuss. I think we, same thing for you guys, porta potties.
so we every year rent porta potties. That comes out of our budget. We plan, I think this year, I think last year the last couple of years we had 10, and I think this year we're going to have 8 is what my memory is, but it'll be somewhere in that 8 to 10
Okay.
range, and we usually cover all the cost of that. We also usually manage all of the trash for it.
Okay. You provide your own barrels?
Yeah, we actually have.
Okay.
In the past, ideally, we would welcome any extra barrels that there may be.
Is that something we can do?
Yeah. So we keep extra. We have about 10 for special events that we take back and forth. So yeah, whatever you guys
really?
need, just tell Mark to just let me know what he needs. And
Okay.
we're already partnering together with our new special events trailer. We're actually going to clean out that barn a little bit and store the cones in a better spot.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Mark
Awesome.
and I have discussed that in pretty good detail.
Awesome, okay.
Is Mark part of the association? I know he's,
So Mark is treasurer of the Littleton Track Organization, and he is co-director of the race. He
Okay.
and Ted Painter are the co-directors of the race this year.
all right, great. I just want to make sure he had some official capacity with your organization.
He does.
Okay, fantastic. So you guys, sounds like you have everything well planned out. So I'll entertain a motion.
What year is this? How many?
This is the 11th.
11th year, yeah. It's a great event. I'd like to move to motion that we waive the fee for the Littleton Track and Road Race Association for the Littleton Road Race to be held on September 22nd, 2019.
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. All those in favor of Mike's motion, say aye.
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 All right,
Thanks
great.
so much.
Thank you.
All righty.
All right, so next, I just wanted to recap the special town meeting. We had a really awesome turnout, I thought. Many more people than what I expected.
Yeah.
So that was really good. So obviously, we voted down the proposed bylaw presented to us by the petitioners. I just want to mention, before the meeting even started, I went to sit in the front, and Mr. Jeff Aramento came up to me, shook my hand. We had a really nice discussion. I had never met Jeff before that night. A couple interactions on Facebook, but him and his wife seem really nice people. So no hard feelings as far as them bringing the petition to us. I think they were well intentioned. I think maybe perhaps a little bit misled, but nevertheless. It was, well within the right to bring the petition, and, really nice people. So, but, I think the town spoke. I hope the issue is settled now. The one thing I want to make sure that everyone is aware of, still to this day I hear and see things that, Park and Rec is limiting events, limiting programming. We have say over what other departments and entities do. We have veto rights over anything in town. There's a whole gamut of things that I've seen out there. That is not true. We have an agreement with the school committee that they will not run programming that we run. We have an agreement with the Board of Selectmen as well, although the Board of Selectmen isn't really, they're involved because they control some of the buildings that we use. But it's really with the schools. And that is an agreement. We've made it with the school committee. It's literally, that is it. The agreement's been put on paper to memorialize it so that, boards to come in future years can see the agreement that we had. Again, I mentioned it at a town meeting. If the school committee decides they don't want to participate in that agreement anymore, they don't have to. Again, we would ask to have a conversation before that happened, but that's all it would be. It would be a discussion. If you're hearing things that we are limiting programming or we've told people they can't run things, please come and tell us. Come to one of our meetings, second Tuesday of every month. Come to one of our meetings and tell us. Tell the commissioners. If you've already talked to Alicia and Tim and you don't think that they've given you the proper response, come and talk to us. We're residents in town. We're volunteers. We are trying to help run this department as citizens, helping Tim and Alicia do the best they can. The last thing that I want to do is limit programming in town. That's it. That's the bottom line. So if you hear of anything like that or you see it, come tell us. You can email me, Mike Prue, lttn@gmail.com. Email me your concerns. We'll discuss it at a meeting. I can't emphasize that enough. So again, I appreciate all the participation that we had at the special town meeting. I appreciate the citizens voting it down. If we need to have a continued conversation about the topic, we're happy to do it. We have nothing to hide. We're just trying to do what's best for this department and the town in general. We have more program today than we ever have, and I think the policies that we have in place are part of that. So that's all I wanted to say. I don't know if Fred or Mike have anything you guys want to add.
I think you covered it.
Okay.
Yep.
Can I just add, in the spirit of what Mike just said, so everybody's aware, and it's on camera, our invites for program proposals went out about 3 weeks ago. The deadline for program proposals is July 19th. They can send a program proposal to myself, Rachel Carbutt, or John Kazanjian. John Kazanjian is in charge of sports and recreation. Rachel Carbutt would be fielding any teen programming as well as community education and any special events. Anybody wants to get involved with any events that we're currently running or partner on any new events for the new fiscal year, they would be directed towards myself. So July 19th is the deadline for that. We're then going to start putting, we have a little under a month at that point to put all of the proposals together, and your next fall-winter brochure will be in homes the week before Labor Day.
Great.
And I did want to add to that as well. So if, coming to a meeting like this is overwhelming and you haven't spoken to the department, please do come talk to us. We will always make time for folks into our department. You can call us, email us, stop into the office at any time. I just want to be very clear that, we want to work with the public. We want the feedback that we have from everyone. So like Mike had said, if you heard stuff and you're not sure and you have questions, please come talk to us. We definitely will sit down and make the time to answer your questions.
Great. All right, so I thought we might get some public here, so I asked you to put public input on here, but no one's here, so I would just add, let's keep that on the agenda.
Yeah.
For going forward.
It.
So we'll always have a spot for the public to be heard if there's any concerns or anything like that. So I'll just add, if I asked you to put it after the special town recap, but let's try to get it up top.
Yeah.
So that, people coming at 7 o'clock know that they don't have to stay until 8 o'clock to be heard. But I knew people were coming for the Fay Park So, and then I thought if people were coming, they may want to discuss town meeting, so that's why I had it put up after that. But let's, from now on, let's try to get it after the meeting minutes.
Okay.
And that way, we can get people to be heard.
Just a
earlier.
suggestion, maybe after the thing where people are coming in, like the Fay Park people, let people that are coming to make a presentation
Right.
go first and then do the public.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Because we also might have, there's also the potential for like other departments coming in, and some of like the other department heads, you know, Chris Stoddard, for example, if he came in, you know, he lives all the way out in Western Mass.
True, yeah,
So
okay.
it would be nice just to, we'll talk about it when I set up the agendas, and we'll make sense of it, I guess, by, you know, who's coming to the meeting.
Yeah,
Is
all
that
right.
all right?
Because like these little request things, they know that it's going to take 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You can get them out, and then they're not stuck sitting through.
Yep, I just, yeah,
Interminable
I guess
talk.
I just want to facilitate more public input, and if
Yeah.
people know,
Yeah.
they're not going to have to sit around for an hour. So, but those are valid points, so we'll take it agenda by agenda, but just know
Okay.
we're going to try to get you guys, if you have public input, we'll try to get you up front. Okay, so next up, we have a request for vote to move excess expense dollars to the salary line to cover the expected deficit. This is, we received a memo from the treasurer's, our town treasurer, Steve Venuti. So I'll let Alicia take it from here.
Yeah. All right. So first, I want to say that we're not the only department that's going through this right now. So with the transfer of finances to this new Munis system, we're able to see errors much more clearly, but unfortunately not as quickly as we would like. So the main focus is to be proactive as possible to solve the problem so that we can move forward and fix everything. So Mike and Fred have gone through the process with me through the budget hearings in the past, and are aware of my frustrations and the challenges that is our current town's budget process. But I have been assured that Nina, our new town administrator, and they are in the process of hiring a new finance director, that the focus is definitely going to be fixing these issues for this upcoming budget season. So I just wanted to start out with that. So we have 2 votes that are suggested by Steve Venuti in his memo. And essentially what the way that I can explain it is that there were general funds that were asked to cover both myself and Tim's salary. And those were put into the general fund line, but never added into the salaries of the department as a whole. And somehow that created an issue and a mistake. So, you know, with the finances, the way that they work, you've got a revenue line, you've got an expenditure line, and you also have a wage or salary line. And those, you just can't mix those. So you have to go through the bureaucratic process of transferring funds. So, you know, we have the funds to be able to cover everything, but we do have to move some of the expense line into the salary line. And then there was also a $50,000 reserve that has not been touched for anything. So the Park Commission would need to vote that to go into the salary line to amend some of these issues. Any additional questions?
Is there, what reserve fund is this?
So we have, as being an enterprise, if we make anything over, so the goal is always to try to make like a little bit of money to cushion, to set aside. It's like the rainy day fund, if you will. So when it came into the department, we were really, you know, in the hole. So we've worked over the past 4 years to create a little bit of a reserve fund. So that was $50,000. This was at the last town meeting that the budget process. So that would have been in, May. Or previous May, because this is fiscal year 19. And then we're going to have to do some fixes with 20 as well. So with 19, we have the $50,000 is from that reserve of the rainy day fund, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much all that's in there right now.
No, there's more than $50,000 that's in there. I think, like this year at the end of it, when they close out, I think Steve said we'll end up making about like $14,000. So, we have a little bit more that's going in, but, we try to slowly chip away at that. So if there are big things, like, for example, down the pipeline, if we get an opportunity to do the bathhouse and we can completely cover that on our own, we would like to do that rather than having to go through the town and capital fund. So it is always our goal to try to be as self-sufficient as possible. So not the ideal use for what we would like to use the reserve fund for, but in this case, it's, an error that happened that we just unfortunately have to fix and move forward.
Everything, Fred?
Nope.
So I spoke with Steve Venuti and the Assistant Town Administrator, Anthony Ansaldi, today. I just had some questions for them, clarifications that I needed. In our conversation, it's clear that it's not your fault.
No.
It's happened to other departments, like you've already said. I do think going forward, I'll take some responsibility, and when we go through the budget, I probably could pay closer attention as the chairman. But I think you and I should, maybe have a meeting.
Yeah.
Pay a little bit closer attention
Yep.
to the budget. Demand that we get the budget
Yes.
ahead of the meeting. I think you said you got it 24 hours
Morning,
before the meeting,
not even.
if that. So that's not acceptable moving forward.
Yes,
I'm hoping
I
that
agree.
with a new finance director coming on board, that'll be rectified. Steve offered to meet with me at any point to discuss our budget, so I think,
Yep.
that's something we should probably take him up on
Yep.
next time this comes around, leading up to the budget summit. So, yeah, other than that, the questions I had today were answered by Steve and Anthony, so
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that. So if everyone's comfortable with this, I will I'll entertain a motion.
And they're written on there, so you don't even have to
right.
make one up.
Yep, I move we vote to approve the transfer of the budgeted reserve fund of $50,000 to the salary expense.
A second.
Okay. All those in favor of approving the transfer of the budgeted reserve fund of $50,000 to the salary expense, say aye.
Aye.
Gotta move a little faster, huh?
Okay. Well,
Are you entertaining a motion on the second?
yep.
Okay, I move to make a motion to vote of the approval of transfer of $105,214 from fiscal year 19 budgeted expenses to fiscal year 19 budgeted salaries.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the transfer of $105,214 from fiscal year 19 budgeted expense to fiscal year 19 budgeted salaries, say aye.
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 Okay, so that's all set. One-day liquor license approvals for the Cornhole League, Taste of Littleton in August, and the Oktoberfest in September.
All right,
Tim?
before you get started, I just want to be really clear, since this is the first time we're really talking about this. The process just changed as of this year. So I just want to be really clear. So it's a two-step process. So in future, we're asking for it for special events that we're offering, but other individuals may come to us, like, for example, these folks that came today to ask for fairs and races and things like that. They may also request this in the future. So just so you're aware of what the process will be. So it's a two-step process. So the first step would be that they have to come before the Park Commission for any park facilities. And they would have to ask permission for use of alcohol on the property. So that's the first step. So for you to accept or to deny that request. The second step is that, so realistically, if, let's say that, it was Mark Saucier from, he would have to work with a vendor to come in to provide that alcohol. So everybody has to be tip certified. It's
Someone who
gotta-
already has a liquor license.
Correct. It's got to go through like a distributor.
Yeah.
So that distributor then would have to go before the Board of Selectmen to actually get a one-day liquor license after they have obtained your approval to use alcohol on the facility for that day.
Right.
Okay, so just because it's new, I just wanted to be really clear. So if everybody else is watching and you're looking, you're thinking, trying to figure out if you use the process, that is the process.
Trying to figure out if you can bring a keg down to Fay Park
Please
with your
do not
buddies.
do that.
Yeah, you can't do
Please
that.
do not do that. That is not acceptable. So as the policy states, there is no alcohol on any facilities. You have to ask permission and obtain a one-day liquor license to be able to do so.
So in item 7, these are all Park and Rec activities to call.
That is correct.
So these are all coming down
So,
the pike
yeah.
for us. These are things that we kind of, so Taste of Littleton, we originally scheduled for July. We're going to push it back to the end of August. We're going to work with some of the local farms and just do, we're going to have beer on one side, wine on the other. So I just want to lead off that I did have a meeting with Jeff Patterson, the deputy chief, this morning. We discussed some of these events. So these 3 in particular, starting off small, John had requested to kind of see if we could do something at the Adult Cornhole League. So we're going to pick a couple nights in the August League, which is Thursday nights, and we're going to have the sub shop come down, apply for the license through the Board of Selectmen, and we're going to do some live music and some service after the league ends on those nights.
Not during.
Not during, no. So it's going to be the whole premise with this is that it has to be in a contained area. If you've ever been to a beer and wine festival or anything else, you have to stay either within a tent or within a fence or things like that. So obviously we're not going to let people down on the beach consuming alcohol because that's against our policies. So what we'll do is we'll move them all up to the sailing tent post league, and we'll have a little area set up where we'll have the live music. We'll have the sub shop set up with their bartender and just do just beer, so keg beer. So that's going to be the Thursdays in August until the league is over.
Okay.
So that is our first plan. Second one, as I already touched on, we're going to try to do something called the Taste of Littleton, bring some of the local restaurants in, some of the local farms. Everybody would do some sort of a just kind of tasting hors d'oeuvre or whatever they want to do. Get beer on one side, wine on the other. It would be a ticket for the event. So you would come in, everybody would, get service included with that fee. Once we decide what that fee is going to be, I will let you know, based off of what our vendors say. And then the beach parking lot, we're going to put a tent up in it. So that'll be up. That'll be the confined space. Anybody who leaves the parking lot area obviously will not be able to carry a drink out of there. Was my discussion with Chief this morning. To have that egress point. So we'll have the person who's checking IDs, which is provided with whatever vendor is using. We'll also have a detail right there, making sure that, everything's on the up and up. Nobody's showing up already intoxicated, to turn them away if that's the case. And then going to Oktoberfest, we're working with Dolphin Insulation. Chris over there actually ran the Oktoberfest in Concord for the past couple years, and they're not continuing with it. So he was very, very kind and saw that we were trying to do this and offered a meeting to us and gave us all of the information on bands, vendors, everything else. So with that, I reached out. I had everybody in a holding pattern until I talked to you today. So I'll send some emails out tomorrow and make sure that we're still kind of ready to go. But we're looking at doing the Oktoberfest here in Fay Park. Have some UPA bands, Soft Pretzel Company, Bratwurst Cart, kids' activities and games. The sub shop, in their partnership with Miller Coors, has a craft beer truck already lined up to come in here, as well as Sam Adams to do the world's largest Stein heist. So it should be a pretty fun event. Once again, I'm reaching out to some people who do this just to figure out, do we do this as a ticketed event or do we do this as a ticket per drink event? So that will be coming down the line. And both the Taste of Littleton and Oktoberfest, I'd really would like to turn those into signature events for us to be able to use to fill the scholarship funds and be able to help out with, youth sports and whatever else that we, really try to do, that we sometimes run into issues with funding. So holiday helpers and all of those kind of things as well. We use scholarships for the first time this year to help families who are in need for beach passes. So, if we can start to build that fund up a little bit and help even more people out, that's our end goal with trying to do some of these events.
Okay. The Taste of Littleton, so that's in August. So what, end of August?
And yeah, like
Okay, so we have
Labor Day weekend.
So we're talking about, the next item on our agenda is tabling the August meeting. So
Yep.
I'd like to hear more about that. I don't know if do you have enough plans in place to discuss that a little bit further?
So I don't, unfortunately. I didn't know if it was going to happen, up until I just received the email from Diane Dickerson last week that we had actually had this get approved. At which point it was a day or two before we put this agenda together.
And who approves it?
So it went through town meeting, and it has to go through the Attorney General's office.
Oh, the
So we were
bylaw.
waiting-
Town meet, right,
yes,
so
Okay.
the bylaw change
update.
just got approved by the
Okay.
Attorney
All right.
General and was sent back to us that it was okay to do.
Okay,
So that was why we were in a holding pattern for all of this. I actually, in my planning and everything else, I'm 6 months ahead of where we normally are. So these things were all kind of brought to fruition, and kind of the hoping process was back in December when we put this list of, hey, these are our tentative events for 2019, coming off that town meeting, not realizing that it was going to take us till almost June, well, after June, in
Right.
order to get, that back and approved and everything else.
Okay.
So, it's perfectly fine too that if we want to kind of table it for this year and roll into it next year, we haven't really got a huge level of commitment. Jamie at Springdale Farms is really the one that's kind of in the holding pattern as far as getting the vendors together for food and working that. Would it be a great event to do? Yes. Is it fine to table it for this year and roll into the Oktoberfest and really work on it for next year? Totally acceptable as well. So I don't mind.
Well, I'm not
either
advocating tabling it. I think, it's just going to weigh on my discussion points for the next agenda
Right,
item.
right.
So we can,
I mean, with
It's fine.
Alicia, when we planned this too, we also didn't plan on Alicia being
I know.
out for that extended period of time. So, myself being the only one in the office, undertaking a brand new event too, it's not necessarily the worst thing for us to roll this into another fiscal year. And I think the expectation's there. People have talked about it a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna ruin anything if we don't do it. It just gives us more time to plan the Oktoberfest and do it right. And I think, from a standpoint, to see how these things go, it's just one more thing to take off the plate of the police and us as well, because then we can roll into the Oktoberfest and focus on doing one thing right rather than two big things right.
Right,
Is there-
excuse me, go ahead, Mike.
Is there a reason we're doing the Oktoberfest in September?
So
That's what
that's
they-
traditionally when it is.
Really?
Yes. So, yes. Oktoberfest ends at midnight on September 28th, I believe it is.
Something there every day.
However,
You learn something new every day.
due to a couple things, we're actually going to be pushing that, I believe, to October 5th. We were originally going to do it September 21st, 28th. We were going to push it to because we couldn't get the truck here. That's the road race that we just waived the fee for.
Yep.
So we pushed it to the 5th of October.
Okay, so then that would be in October.
On the Taste of Littleton, it would seem to me that if you're still sort of planning it and it's in the early stages, that running it without having going full bore into it, then you're gonna affect next year's turnout and people that are interested, where if you wait, you might have a
Right.
better supply. And my other thing, comment on this whole liquor license thing, is when Alicia interviewed with us, one of her prime things was this alcohol, the Oktoberfest or whatever
Yeah,
it
I
was
did a
you
huge
did in Pittsburgh.
Winterfest in
And
Pittsburgh,
I
yeah.
remember sitting there and saying, that will never happen in this town. So I'm impressed. So there you go. Because I thought we would never see the day that happened here, so.
That was one of the caveats when she hired me. She said, you have to make this happen.
Give me an
There we go.
Oktoberfest.
So have you run any numbers where you think, I'd imagine this will be, benefit to possibly work on that reserve fund, get it back up, so have you done an analysis where you think?
We have to talk about that. I think yes, it is a possibility, but I think the reality is we really did want to focus on these special events being more for scholarship fund.
Okay.
I think we'll get more people there focusing
Okay.
on that rather
Right.
than saying, yeah, we're just trying to replenish or increase our reserve fund.
Right.
I think if they see that it's going to benefit the town, the community, our residents in an impactful way.
Right.
I think that'll draw more people.
And that was always the spirit of why I wanted to do that signature event for us to be able to do that. There's so many things that, we don't give out scholarships for just because we don't have the funds to
can't,
do it.
yeah.
There's so many things that it would be nice. if we were going to use that money for anything else, to be 100% honest with you, I would look at using some of it to supplement the other events that we run throughout the year. We transferred in $25,000 this year to special events budget because there really wasn't a special events budget prior. We were just taking that on the head. So what I'd like to do is, now that those funds are in that specific line item, I'd like to keep that replenished so we can continue doing great events like Touch a Truck and keep doing things, having food vendors at Third Thursday and looking at other opportunities to, make more free things for the community, when they're costing us between $1,500 and $3,000 to pull off.
But we have at least done a cost benefit. I mean, I would have to assume that it's, that this would get covered, just by in attendance. But as far as what they're charging,
Right.
They haven't even figured that out yet. They mentioned that they don't know if they're going to do it as a ticketed event or a ticket per drink event. So
Okay.
I think you guys need to figure that out first.
But one of our biggest priorities when we do our budgeting is to make sure that it's all,
You don't run a deficit.
we don't,
correct?
right, so we don't want to run a deficit. I mean, or if it is something that we're trying out for the first time for some of the special events, we've allowed that to happen just to be able, because we know it's going to be a fantastic event for the community and we really want it to go. Knowing that hopefully in the future, you get more people, it gets more popular. So, we have played that gamble, but it's only been, like couple $100, if anything. So, like I said, yes, this could be a great resource as far as being able to keep, the special events billed, because a lot of the stuff that we do is at no cost to the town, but it's at a pretty hefty cost to our department. So we do have to figure out how to make that sustainable. And then the only other thing that I could think of for the usage would be if we did get the opportunity to do something like build a bathhouse, if we did get the opportunity to go back that, or, if we have this concept of the community center possibly that comes out of the space needs, that could help us put money towards creating those sort of facilities. So that's the reason we really want to focus on these sort of events.
Okay. I think for the purposes of tonight, my suggestion would be that we take a vote on all three of them. If Tim and Alicia determine that, Taste of Littleton can't happen this year for, whatever reason, that's fine. But we can at least approve that tonight.
Okay.
And, then you have that in your back pocket if you need it.
Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion.
I'd like to move to motion for the one-day liquor license approval for the Cornhole League, Taste of Littleton, and the Oktoberfest.
Second.
All right. All those in favor of approving one-day liquor licenses for the Cornhole League, Taste of Littleton, and Oktoberfest, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
So we'll clarify one thing, though. You're not approving a liquor license, you're approving the use of alcohol on the park
property.
facility.
Correct.
Right.
All right. Yep. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
So the next step is I'll contact James on both the Cornhole League and the Oktoberfest and ask the sub shop to go before the Board of Selectmen to make that request. At which point we'll go through the process, we'll get everything signed, T's crossed, I's dotted, and then if we do the Taste of Littleton, depending on which vendors come in for that, I'll have them go through the same process as well.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So how would the Taste of Littleton work with multiple vendors? Do they all have to get approval? I would imagine they do.
So basically, what you need to do, and I believe how the law is written, if I read through it correctly, you can only have one vendor doing one thing. So you can't have multiple
With the
beer
types of
entities
spirit?
coming. Yeah, if you read through it, it's there's a clause in there that's kind of tricky. So I did want to get
Interesting.
clarification on that as well. But to my understanding, as it's written, it's one entity per. Now, so like the sub shops coming in, that they have Miller Coors as their people, so they can come in and bring everything with them because they have multiple people they're distributing for. But it's only one entity running each thing. So the way that it's written, I think that we'd have issues like if we wanted to do like a craft beer fest and have multiple different resources coming in. But I'll get clarification on that. I did not get an opportunity to do that.
Did you get the equivalent of a general contractor to organize?
Yeah. So the sub shop, if you go in the sub shop, there's however many beers on tap. that's essentially what they could offer us in one, as them being the entity that's providing it for the night. Yep. It's kind of like when you go to a wedding and rent out a space, and there's one bartending group who runs that for you. That's essentially what we're doing by providing this liquor license.
Okay. All right, good. Moving right along. Discussion on Park Commission meeting date and time change. It says table August meeting, is that
Yep. We were talking about it.
Request?
It's not necessarily a request, but it's something to think about because, again, I mean, just because I'm out on medical leave does not mean that you guys can't meet. You should if you totally want to. We were just saying, it is a super busy time of year for all of our staff, especially for Tim being down at the beach and definitely helping me out, being in the office as well while I'm out recovering. So, it's totally up to you guys. We were just trying to think about how to do the process. If it makes sense to pause and come back together in September, or, so we're just throwing it out for a discussion if that was of interest or not.
Okay. My feeling would be that we keep it, and as we get closer, if things are running smooth, Tim doesn't need any input from us,
Okay,
then, a week or two ahead, maybe we cancel it
okay.
and, put it out on our Facebook page, the website, and whatever, let everyone know. But, with it being the busiest time of year, things may pop up that, we need to keep that
Right.
meeting on the table for.
So that would be July 13th,
August.
August 13th.
Yeah. And if, things do move forward with Taste of Littleton,
It probably would be best for you.
we would want
Yeah.
to meet and make sure everything's ironed out and
Yep.
figure out what your full plan is for that.
Absolutely.
So, that's my opinion. Open to others.
Oh, fair enough.
The other thing that I put on here was, and you talked about the meeting date and time. So that's something that Mike and I had talked about after the last meeting. That again is a discussion that you all can have. It's a little challenging. We're missing 2 of our commissioners to have that full discussion.
Yeah.
But does every second Tuesday of the month, does that make sense for everybody at 7 p.m.?
Well, in the discussion, we started talking about that because
Recording.
So it was after, we talked with LCTV, and I think we looped in Anthony as well.
Yep.
About recording all our meetings, and sometimes LCTV doesn't have the resources on those Tuesdays. I know FinCom meets on Tuesdays. I don't know. I think it's every other, maybe once a month. I think Board of Health meets on Tuesdays as well. I think they're usually up in 307. So whether or not Tuesday works for LCTV is really how the conversation began.
Yeah.
So
Is Kirby still in there?
I think we
No? Okay.
I think we still need to start with them and to figure out if they can support us on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
And if they say they can't, then I think we discuss another night of the week
Okay.
or another week of the month.
Right.
And go from there. But we need to have that conversation, get that feedback first.
Okay.
If we can keep it on second Tuesday of every month, great. If not, I think the priority going forward needs to be that we record our meetings.
Yes. Okay. So I will put that on my to-do.
Do you want me to just go on what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just skip over director's report. All right, let's just getting caught up on typing.
Okay,
And
so
go into upcoming events. So one of the things that was omitted off of your sheet is this Sunday, as a reminder to everybody, is the Appleman Triathlon at Long Lake Beach. So we will be working with the Rotary, and we will be shutting down the beach parking lot at 4 p.m. on Saturday, so that firm can move in and start putting up fences and everything else. As we've done in years past, they will also start setting the swim course and moving the buoy lines and everything else at 4 p.m. So just a heads up to everybody, if you're going to be down at Long Lake Beach, you will be being asked to move your cars off of Town Road to the side streets to Shaker Lane School, anywhere that you can park to help get the property ready for the triathlon. So if you plan on being there after 4 o'clock, just kind of be proactive and park on one of the side streets or park at Shaker Lane so that you don't have to be bothered while you're already kind of set up and doing your thing.
And that's on Saturday?
That is going to be starting at Saturday at 4 p.m.
Okay.
The actual event is on Sunday.
Right, but moving cars and whatnot.
Yep.
If you are going to the beach on Saturday and you plan on staying past 4, you should probably park
Park
Shaker
elsewhere.
Lane.
Correct.
Or somewhere else.
Yeah, Lakeshore Drive, Lake. Yep, somewhere
Okay.
around there.
Probably be easiest for the neighborhood if people park at Shaker Lane.
It would,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Yep. So the next event that we have coming up is Third Thursday. We have that coming up next Thursday, July 18th. So hopefully it will actually be our first official Third Thursday that's on Third Thursday this summer. So we're hoping that the weather continues. And we've already kind of looked ahead at what we have coming up for other special events, so we will keep you guys posted in the loop about all that kind of stuff. Going back to the Appleman, Long Lake Beach will be closed on Sunday until 1 p.m. So everything will be cleaned up. Lifeguards will be on duty starting at 1 p.m.
Okay. The one thing I just wanted to make sure you clarify is I know the lake is being treated on Friday.
Correct.
By Saturday, it's fine to go in, swim, do
Correct.
whatever.
Yes.
So
Corey and the Clean Lakes Committee are treating the lake. It's just
Corey
like
from
Corey Godfrey
the water
from
department.
the Water Department. Clean Lakes Committee, they have the same company, All Habitat, coming in. If you haven't seen the post, it's on our Facebook page, it's on our Twitter page. I believe it's been shared on a couple other pages as well. Just kind of get on there and check it out. But swimming and boating is limited for Friday only. And then there's other restrictions. The main effect is the irrigation, so it requires the assay if you're using irrigation based off of that water supply. So just hop on, take a look at the public notice. It's the same public notice that you've seen in years past, just with the updated dates. For anybody who does live around it, they'll also be doing Spectacle Pond. So just to be aware of that, since we are on TV and just putting it out there as well. There's two separate public notices floating around out there, one for Long Lake and one for Spectacle Pond.
And they do physically post, correct?
Yes.
So in the area, there will also be postings with information as well.
Friday, you cannot swim or boat.
You cannot swim
Okay.
or
You
boat
said
for
limited, so I just wanna make sure.
24 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right, good.
Top back to the director's report.
Yes, director's report.
All right. So that was one of my pieces. All right, thanks. That's easy. Check done. So again, just want to remind you guys and everybody else that I do have to go out on medical leave on July 11th. That's this Thursday. Hopefully everything goes well and it'll be a 6-week recovery. And I will hope to be back by the end of August, I guess. Not looking forward to it, but it is what it is.
Okay.
So all of the end of the year staff evaluations have been completed. All the new payroll authorizations are in and turned into human resources. We also switched over all the payroll to the Munis system, so we are completely, officially 100% over onto Munis. It's been about, like a 2-year process to kind of move us from finances to payroll, so yes. So that is, switch has officially happened. So we mentioned the herbicide treatment at the lakes. I also wanted to say that we're treating the athletic fields with fertilizer on Thursday, July 11th, all except for Shaker Lane. Shaker Lane will take place on Friday to accommodate Camp Tehadawon because that's their field trip day. So Highway has been very kind to wait and do that the next day while they're out. So all fields minus Shaker Lane will be done on Thursday. That includes parks as well. So grass out there as well. And then only Friday will be only Shaker Lane.
Okay. Your next point, let's generalize that.
Yep. We just had a public records request, so I'm working on answering that, and a formal response will be sent out before I go out on medical leave.
Okay, great, thank you.
And then we talked about the brochure, so, we're going to be working over that over the next few weeks. And we're also trying to figure out what makes more fiscal responsibility. Do we do 3 smaller ones, or do we do the 2 big ones? So Tim's kind enough to work on crunching those numbers when I'm out. So he'll work with Blue Bumble. We'll figure out what makes more sense, and we'll just decide whatever is the most affordable option. We're going to go with that.
So it's not necessarily just that. The real reason the question was asked was, are we losing registrations because people are forgetting about the summer by the time summer comes, or people are forgetting about spring?
Winter,
because right now
yeah.
we're putting out the brochure as fall, winter, and spring, summer. So are people getting it for the spring registrations the week of Easter in April, and then losing it or throwing it in the circular recycling bin, and not having it for the time that it comes around to the summer programming? So in looking at that, the question was asked, do we do fall, winter 1, which is how our semesters, if you want to call them, work, are 6 weeks, and then winter 2 and spring together, and then bump summer out by itself.
Yeah.
So those are what we're looking at, and the why behind it.
Yeah.
Are more and more people going from the internet? I mean, we've got this wonderful registration system set up, right?
Yeah. Well, remember, it's still new. This is the first year that we really we're getting at in September will be 1 full year of use. So, it's still new to people. There's always going to be new folks that are interested in the programming. And honestly, like having that physical brochure, that's something that a lot of people do.
What would be interesting is, just when they register, I don't know if you can work with the system, when they do register for the program, put out a question out there. How did you find out about this? Did you find out from the brochure, or did you find out from the internet? Is there a way we can ask that question when they register?
Well, and so I don't think we can necessarily, we might be able to ask it when they register. We'll have to look into that. I can set maybe.
That would answer that question.
Because we
can
do.
put
We ask that
questions
in
in
the
there.
trips. We ask,
Yeah.
who you, because we do so
We
many
need to-
multiple towns with the trips. We ask you to specify which town you're coming from.
Yeah.
So that would just be internet, Google,
'Cause
whatever it might be.
there's a push now to go more and more paperless.
Right.
So we're talking about going in the opposite direction a little bit here.
A little bit.
And so,
Well, the brochures are going to be smaller.
yeah.
Right.
You get a lot of people who really, they come to the office when they don't have a brochure.
Yeah, I mean, and when I get it in the mail, I thumb through it and, check things. I wouldn't necessarily go on, I mean, my family doesn't necessarily use our services that much, just because we don't have the need. But, I certainly look through it, and I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go on our website or the registration site to look to see what we're offering. Someone like me who maybe doesn't use our services a lot, gets that in the mail, looks through it, and something catches my eye that my kids might be interested in. I can
Yeah.
see that being, you have that physical thing mailed to you.
I look through it, but I'm on the board, so that's one of the reasons why.
That's another reason I
Yeah,
look
but-
I
look
hope
through
that's
it,
not the only reason.
But to be quite frank, a lot of times I find myself more on the website
Yeah.
trying to search through stuff. So I personally, being a commissioner, I would like that kind of feedback.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's one of the things, I didn't really get into it a whole lot, just for the fact that I'm not going to be able to do a whole lot in between July and August. But one of the goals that I have set up for next year is really delving into getting public input, doing surveys, finding out information on this, coming up with a strategic marketing plan and all of those things. So that's definitely on the list of my goals for next year. So absolutely, that will, by this time next year, be completely accomplished, I hope. All right. So
just one more thing.
Yeah.
As you crunch the numbers, even if I would like to, even if it's a little bit more, Mike may be against this. We can, have the discussion, and once you have the numbers, and once we have a full board, and figure out how the whole board feels. But even if it was a little bit more, I could see myself advocating that we go forward with that and do it for a year and see if we do get more enrollment.
Yeah.
Based on what the point Tim made about people do forget if it's a shorter time span that the brochure is covering, perhaps that will help our enrollment.
But what's that little bit more? It's a slippery slope,
Well, right. Well, you'll have those numbers for us, and we'll determine
Yeah.
if that.
Okay.
No, but somebody that's never used the service isn't gonna think to go look online.
Right.
So if you
Right.
don't have something in front of you to bring you to
When you
it,
see it, it's like, oh,
then,
wow.
yeah.
And they did, we did talk about this at the state conference, and this is something that other departments have done research on. And they've found that the tangible, actually having the brochure has increased their registrations, where the other organizations that went completely paperless actually saw a drop. So I think there is something to that tangible, brochure that you get in the mail.
So the one thing that we did see a big influx this year alone is in that brochure on the back of each of the things that's mentioned right below here, track, Camp T, LEAP, and our sailing program, we put the registration form on the back of that page. And when we switched to the credit card fees, a lot of these registration forms were torn out of here and mailed back to us as
Yep.
we had hoped that they would be.
Good,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what that does also is that frees, as you all know, we have a part-time admin. So that frees us up and allows us to work at a pace where if we're checking the mail, we can mitigate that. But if all three of you show up at the same time, that becomes kind of a crunch on the department.
Right.
So that does help us be able to, allow Megan to say, okay, I have 10 registrations, but they're in envelopes. It's not 10 physical people standing in front of us trying to get through the door and out in a prompt fashion. So that's one thing
Fair
that
point,
provides
yep.
to us.
All right, so the last thing I have on here is an update on the Long Lake Reno. So one of the things we've completed, this is kind of like a new business kind of order. So we did complete the purchase order agreement and the quote system with the Long Lake dock. So that will be arriving Monday morning. So it's amazing. It's going to be a beautiful dock. So they're sending down a staff person. They're not sending down.
not happening.
Okay. All right. Never
Yours
mind.
truly has the instruction manual that he's going to read tonight while watching the All-Star game.
So yours truly will be putting together our beautiful new dock, and so hopefully that should take about 2 days to put all that together. So we definitely encourage people to come down and take a look at it because it will be a beautiful dock.
So you have to remove a dock, or do we just?
We're going to take the green dock out, the
That's
green dock
easy.
that's on the boat ramp,
Yep.
and that was what I had gone to Conservation Committee to discuss. They're trying to figure out what they want to do as far as recreating that fishing, the kayak fishing, whatever, pier that was on Lake Shore. There were 3 of them. We discussed them in a meeting prior. We're going to give those to Conservation temporarily to put out there to see if they want to build one longer dock, how they want to do that. So we're going to move those there probably Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So Amy and her team can come down and get a good look. And I did have some signs made up by Blue Bumble that is going to be our official fishing dock, because that's something that was brought to us 2 years ago, that there wasn't anywhere for the kids to fish and they were doing it on the beach and everything else. So I've already, at the request of the Conservation Commission, I created one of those little fishing line strings out of the PVC. So I made that's sitting in my garage. I'm going to put that on one of the poles so there's a place to put fishing line and use lures and stuff like that, so it's not going into the lake. And we'll clean that on a regular basis like we do the trash. And then just a fishing here sign so that people know that that's where we want them to be.
And then we had last month that very kind donation from William and Carol White. So that will go towards making that dock, an official dock down there.
So what I had told them was, you guys can either have this green dock and we can pull this out and this can be what you guys utilize until it's had its lifetime, which it's almost at the end of its life now. Or if you're interested and you really like what we just purchased, I have all those numbers and we can then go out and purchase more pieces, because at that point the reason that we went with the system that we are, it's a company called CanDock. It's 2x2 blocks, so if one of them ever gets water or anything else, you literally place a $100 block rather than having to replace a $1,200 section. So it should be nice for us to put together. I've used similar systems in the past, so it definitely does.
How is that going to affect Camp T?
0.
It won't?
Nope.
Okay.
Strictly, so what it's going to provide is the sailboats now have a place to be stored every single night out of the water. So it's going to get us longevity in our sailboats. They're not going to be sitting in the water for 3 months. They're going to be pulled up, dried out every night, all of that. The residents who utilize the fishing dock, the entire 70-foot length of the dock has mooring cleats. So rather than having to pull the boats up onto the beach or run them aground in order to utilize the bathrooms or anything else, they now have a place that they can tie the boats up to. Especially you get a lot of the gentlemen in the morning who are out there by themselves who need to run up and grab their truck and trailer, and it's going to create so much better of an atmosphere for them. It's going to create a much safer environment for our sailing program. The kids are no longer going to have to swim out in the morning and then swim their sailboats back in. So as you can probably surmise, especially on windy days, that can get kind of sketchy for 8-year-olds to be able to do. So it's just overall, it's going to be a much better environment for people who utilize that boat ramp.
Okay. When's the fencing going in?
It's a great question. I don't know yet. I do need to get an auger down there. We have the rope. I have already put in the order of the fence post with Littleton Lumber. So it's time. And really, I was on vacation last week. My goal is to get a lot of it done. Tomorrow we're refinishing the tops of the picnic tables and putting the solid stain on those so that those can get put back out. So that's what we're trying to hit tomorrow. Friday, we're going to utilize some of the staff that we had to possibly dig holes for the fence. I'm not sure if we're going to rent some sort of auger to do that or if we're going to just do good old-fashioned post hole digger. I don't know what the makeup of the ground is yet. And we're setting I believe it's 33 posts, so it's going to be something that we have to look at, but I'll get you an answer on that. My goal is to have everything done by the end of July, so we will work with that. I've been over to the stone place in Westford, I believe it's called Ideal. Looked at some stone to replace the wall in front of the playground, and preliminary thoughts are that I wanted to ask you all about were to see if we just wanted to do the rope fencing behind that. So it's something that we already have, and then we just put another 4 posts in, and that creates that barrier that we were looking to do that you can see through everything else. We're not adding anything else. I know that was one of the requests that we received, and in the past month I've been looking at it. That was one of the things I had kind of thought about. So I don't know if that would be a solution that we want to entertain.
Okay.
Yeah, so the goal is, end of July to have all that in.
Thanks for doing all that.
Yeah, no worries.
A ton of work.
It is. And then we did get the quotes in, so we're going to move forward with the quotes on the low-flow fixtures as well as the LED lighting in the bathhouse as well. So that work will be beginning as soon as I can get those contracts signed and get the contractors in here to do that. I met with Ted Doucette in regards to the new snack shack. And what we would need to do to meet the requirements. I still need to have another conversation with Bridget from the Board of Health to see what our requirements are from them. And she just wants to basically see the new building. So I kind of have...
This is in regards to the new
Snack
building.
shack.
Yeah, not Beach House, snack shack.
Correct,
No.
the snack shack, right. So based off of what the Board of Health says and what our services are actually going to be, they might have some new requirements for us that the old building was grandfathered into. So I need to finish having those conversations with Bridget before we fully design that building. But from the time that we pick up the phone and call them, it's 10 days before it's sitting in our parking lot. So I will, keep you abreast of what's going on with that as well.
Okay. I have some questions that aren't on your. Do you want to finish your report? Are you done?
Yeah, I think I was finished. There was like one last piece on there, and that's something that Tim had brought up that I think we'll look into. But I think I agree with Tim. We should communicate with the Clean Lakes Committee and discuss adding a park commissioner to that committee. It just makes sense that, Long Lake is one of, the Park Commission's facility to oversee, and that is part of the Clean Lakes as well. So I'm not sure how we kind of, missed that, but that's something that moving forward, we should really look into having a park commissioner be part of that committee.
As an official member?
Yeah. So I
We
think,
do, just from the sheer fact that we do all the planning with them on when we can actually shut down the beach and everything else. So,
Right.
I mean, I do that just via email with Corey, but it might be something that, for bigger things coming down the pike, it would be good to have, somebody to be privy to that information ahead of time.
because there's a lot of like stormwater management and things like that, whether we can be involved with helping move that along, because some of it's kind of been, forgotten about for years. And, for us, it's really important to keep especially, all of the lakes, but Long Lake specifically, clean and healthy. So I think it would be beneficial to be part of that group.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're going to look into that?
Yeah, I'll send Corey an email.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. I just want to get an update. What's the status on the boat motors?
Oh,
So the one motor has been switched out to a 20 horsepower motor.
Okay.
We're still trying to kind of come up with the kids' pirate cruise and what we're going to do as far as that is concerned.
Yep.
The other boat, I actually found another boat company that was used by some sailing companies out in California when our sailing instructors went to their class up in Salem last week. So we actually got a good deal on one, $2,800 from a company up in New Hampshire, and I got the gentleman who sold us the original boat to agree to come back and get the larger boat. So we are 100% compliant without having to do any.
So we sold the rescue boat?
We bought a new
Sailing.
one, and then the other one's just going back. So we're gonna sell it back to the.
We're
gentleman.
selling it back to him. We're not just giving it to him.
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. That was,
Yes, he has a gentleman who's interested in it. So rather than us be the middleman, we're just gonna do an even, swap back to the dealer that it came from, and then he's
Okay.
gonna worry about getting rid of it.
that's big news. So let's recap that, okay? For everyone out there. So we have one boat that we bought two originally.
Correct.
We're keeping one that has a 20 horsepower motor on it.
Correct. That we bought the motor. We actually swapped the old motor for the new motor.
Okay.
which is 20 horsepower.
Yep,
Correct.
so 20 horsepower on that one. The boat that was originally going to be the rescue boat.
Correct. The one that
Which
is
had-
sitting at Long Lake
There
right
was a center
now.
console.
Correct.
We are selling that back to the
To the
person we bought
gentleman
it
that
from.
we originally bought it from.
And we are buying,
We have purchased
we have purchased another boat that has a 20 horsepower motor.
15 horsepower.
15
motor.
horsepower motor.
Correct.
Okay.
So was there a cost difference, or is it,
What's that?
was there a cost difference?
It's cheaper, wasn't it?
Did we lose money in the whole
No.
deal?
No.
We
Okay.
lost no money.
Great.
We came out ahead.
It's fantastic.
We will
Um,
come out ahead. By
Is there
about
any,
$2,000.
any concern about safety as far as towing a boat back?
No, so I did a full test on it the morning I brought it back last week. It's just brought it back last Tuesday. And no, everything seems to work well. It handles well on the water. It holds, it says it holds 5 people. I think more comfortably it holds 3 people. But yeah, it's definitely gotten the job done. Now, if we were to ever, go to a different type of boat, which is what the hope is in the future, Hobie Cats and things like that, to help expand the ability for sailors to try other things besides sunfish. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But
Yeah.
for right now, yeah, this seems to be doing the job.
Awesome.
And it's small enough and maneuverable enough that everybody got trained on it last week. As I stated before, as an update since our last meeting, every single one of our sailing instructors went through the safe boating course and got their Massachusetts state boating license from Officer David Wright. The EPO taught the class down at the police department. The 4 who were old enough to do it attended the level 1 sailing training in Salem, Massachusetts, the 24th through the 27th. So that was big. Those guys learned a lot. And then one of the other things that we did in here was in this particular room back in June, the beginning of June, we did it's called USA Sailing's REACH program, which is like the STEM education. So it's learning about hydrodynamics and the wind and everything else. So we have some really cool water table stuff, clay boats, some stuff that we brought to the program this year that we've never had before. And then lastly, as part of what they came away with from Salem is we are going to add a week in, and it's just going to be regatta week. So last year we did the regatta on the last Thursday of the sailing program. This week we're actually going to offer nothing, but it's going to be an intro to race week. Anybody who did our program for the whole summer can sign up for the last week. Come down, you can pick your own partner or we'll give you a partner. We're going to teach all the rules of racing and everything else, and then that Thursday night at 4 o'clock we're going to invite all the parents and families for a cookout and the actual sailing regatta like we did last year. So some really, really awesome stuff on top of what we were able to do.
Nice.
But yeah, the boats are a non-issue anymore. We were able to take care of that, and that was something we saw it in work. It's a company called Go Boats. It looks very similar to a Zodiac, but it's manufactured out of Japan. There was one that was sitting around from 2017 that they basically gave it to us at a it was almost 70% discount. So yeah, we ended up walking away with it for $2,800.
Wow.
Great.
And because
Boat,
of
motor,
that,
and trailer. So
yeah,
Can't beat that.
no.
the weight to motor ratio, that's why
Right.
it's so light. That's why that 15 horsepower motor works.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. That's great news.
So yeah, that was, like I said, from day one I was trying to come up with something outside the
Yeah.
box, and it just kind of was one of those things that until we saw it in motion, that it was, kind of one of those things that kind of solved itself without having to really, it fell in our lap kind of.
Yep.
So.
Good. The last thing I have is, and I had called you the night I saw it, was Castle in the Trees with the trash.
Yep.
We had a situation where the trash was overflowing, and it appeared to me, based on the pictures that I saw, that the trash was full, and someone just had a picnic in the park or whatever, brought everything. I think they had pizza boxes or whatever, and leaving the park, the trash was full, and instead of taking it with them, they put it on the side of the barrel. At that point, we were straight out because we had special town meeting we were preparing for. Tim couldn't, and you're still dealing with the beach. You were behind on the beach.
Yeah.
I think you've now caught up, but anyways, so you didn't have time to get to the park that night. So I would just ask the public, if you are using our parks and we have trash barrels there. It's not Highways Department's responsibility to pick those up. Tim does it, or one of our other staff members picks up the trash. So if you're leaving the park, you have trash and the barrel's full, I would just ask you to take it with you. It just brings, it invites animals to tear it apart, and I think that's really what happened. Is someone put a bag of trash next to the barrel and it got torn apart over the night, and the next day it was all over the place. I know we did have some citizens that took it upon themselves to try to pick a lot of it up. So I thank them for their diligence and helping us keep the parks clean. But it's kind of a double-edged sword. I know there were some suggestions about, parks should be carry in, carry out, and, there is actually a sign at Castle in the Trees that indicates it is carry in, carry out, but we provide barrels just as,
Seasonally.
Seasonally, but, we're trying to help. It's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. If we don't put barrels there, we're going to end up with trash, but we put a barrel there and we still end up with trash, so we just need help from the community in trying to deal with that. And, if you see a barrel overflowed, give us a call. We'll try to get out there as soon as we can to pick it up.
Yeah,
so
the plan-
Tim's working as hard as he can to get there, but it's been an incredibly busy spring for many reasons.
Yeah, so we were just out there this afternoon, so everything's all set. We did get a report that there was the trash can in front of Castle itself was actually overflowing again, so we took care of it, and there'll be a team going out there, in the next couple weeks, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, to make sure that the barrels are empty. Yeah. Unfortunately, on the bays' heaviest things, if we have to send somebody over there on the weekends, that's the toughest time to really be able to free anybody up to get over there. Yeah. With how busy we are at Long Lake and not having any other staff or resources available to us.
And I think that was the Monday after the King of the Castle basketball tournament, which you indicated you indicated that you had that place spick and span. Yeah. So that's over the course of a couple days, and so we just need the community helping us out. Yeah. So.
And to be clear, it still is a pack in, pack out facility. We provide it there just for the fact that it is summer, it has heavy usage. But if you do not have to use those trash barrels, please do not do so. And it is definitely not a place for individuals to leave home waste, because that has happened as well, where people will just bring full trash bags and leave it by the side. So that is absolutely not appropriate use of that facility at all. So just want to be very clear. So
Yeah, hopefully, I mean, that should go without saying, but obviously.
I know.
If it's happened in the past, it's.
So if you see something and you're there, speak up and tell somebody. We don't want to see diapers thrown in the trash. We don't want to see the
No, we do
trash.
want diapers thrown in the trash.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not in the woods.
In the woods. Thank you. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was hoping. So, so you see a lot of the diapers thrown into the woods by the porta potties. Like, none of those things should be happening. So, speak up, say something. Call us, let us know.
Okay, great. Next on the agenda, I think we have new business. I think that was, I guess my stuff goes under that. I don't know, Mike or Fred, if you have anything.
No.
Just so everybody's aware, once again, since we are on TV, Town of Littleton Highway Department just did put out a notice on Twitter. The company who is doing the surfacing decided that they are going to do it starting tomorrow at 7 a.m. So there's a full list of street closures. If you are visiting Long Lake Beach tomorrow, it looks like Beach Drive, all the roads surrounding the beach going from Goldsmith down at some point will be closed for resurfacing tomorrow or the next day.
Okay.
So get out and check that public notice. Work will commence at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Okay, maybe we can put something on our Facebook page tonight.
Okay. Yep.
I know it's been, that
I'll
was,
I'll
that
retweet it.
highway department post was put up at a couple places.
Okay.
So, all right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much. See you next month.
Thank you,
Maybe.
gentlemen.
Thank you.